Hi, I'm Tina Cummins,
And I'm Belinda Powers, and we
we
are.
are True Crime Sages. We're back here tonight for the case of missing Summer Wells, part 2. There are a lot of things that Belinda and I would like to discuss with you. First of all, I'd like to start this out by saying everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, Belinda and I have had some discussion over a lot of people blaming the Wells parents, and without any evidence or any knowledge to the public, a lot of people are specifically blaming Don Wells. But as far as the public knows, what does the public know, Belinda?
That as far as I know, from what I saw in interviews, is he was at work.
He was at work. So it's interesting. He came home sometime during the day. We don't know what time, but I'm assuming that with his text back and forth to Candace that they both had their phones with them that day. And he had mentioned somewhat text going back and forth between them, and Hunter mentions Don calling Candace calling or talking to him in the truck. So, if there's something wrong with their story, I'm sure TBI and the FBI are aware of it. So that, again, that narrows down the focus in the timeline. I just wanted to discuss a few cases where people assumed that it was the parents or someone nearby in the family, and they were wrong. John Benet Ramsey comes to mind. With John Benet, now she had been killed with a garrote in the basement of the home, and someone had used a stun gun on her. A lot of people were accusing her older brother Burke, who was 8 years old at the time. And I ask you, what would an 8-year-old have with a garrote and a stun gun? So, that completely makes no sense. Now, the family, again, they have blamed the family for a long time. Turns out it might be a completely different suspect. They had handwriting analysis done, and they said there was some stuff that looked like the mom's handwriting and some of it didn't. And, but the bottom line is this poor woman died of breast cancer. She went to her grave being accused of murdering her child or having something to do with her child's death. And his father, they were blamed. You brought up another good case that comes to mind where they thought, who did you say it was? J.C. Dugard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was who did they think it was at first?
The stepdad. Yeah. The stepdad witnessed her leaving for school, and he was looking out the window and he saw it, and he actually had the car, the make of the car, everything, and they accused the stepdad.
Yeah, and it wasn't him at all. And in fact, it was the Garrido family, a husband and wife, who actually kept J.C. Dugard in the back of their property in tents and almost sadly like a doghouse, chained up,
Yeah, for 18 years.
For 18 years. And she ended up having 2 kids with the guy. Another one that comes to mind, Holly Bobo. Her brother, Clint Bobo, a lot of people were accusing him, saying, oh, he had to have something to do with it. His story doesn't wash. Well, guess what? He didn't have anything to do with it. He saw he witnessed his sister being kidnapped. Okay. Another example of a female that dealt in child trafficking at one point, Mona Nelson. She eventually was convicted of the murder of Jonathan Foster, who was 12 years old when he died. But, here she is hugging on mom and comforting mom on the news cameras. And the whole time, she knew that she had killed her son and disposed of him. So in saying this, Delphi, that's another one. Okay. the Delphi homicides of Liberty German and Abigail Williams, a lot of people have accused the grandpa, have accused the sister, have accused all these people in the family. And they've even got a video of the man. Okay. And do people not think that, you know, they're going to check out grandpa's alibi, know where he was at? I mean, where's common sense here? So in saying that, I just want to put out there that just because the police are looking at the family doesn't mean they've done anything wrong. Is there anything you'd like to add on that, Belinda?
Well, they're solely going off of Don's background.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, innocent until proven guilty. We all have past. None of us is exempt. You know, we all have past.
You know,
I think it's a shame.
I don't know what Don did when he was a teenager. I have no idea if these molestations actually occurred or not, or if they're accusations. I don't know that for sure. But
yeah, and we're not taking nothing off of the victims, if there was victims, if they're, you know,
right, that's not to take
or
away
victim blaming or shaming.
I am never, as a victim's advocate, I'm never going to blame the victim. I don't care who it is. I'm not going to blame the victim. That said, you know, we don't know what his past adult life has been like. If that did occur when he was a child, you know, we know that he was arrested and he admittedly tried to traffic drugs back and forth to Mexico, tried to traffic cocaine, you know, maybe he was a mule, he was doing a lot of dope according to him. But that doesn't make him a child molester. That doesn't mean he did something to his child. So in saying that, you have to go back again to the timeline. And in the timeline, I think it would be fairly simple for TBI and FBI to take Candace Bly and Don Wells' phones and say, okay, this is where they pinged at and this is where they were. So if she was back at her house by 3:40 and he was in Jonesboro, was he in Jonesboro? Was she at home? I mean, this is something the public doesn't know. So I caution people to be very careful about what they say and what they don't say about this family, because the fact of the matter is you could be wrong. Any good investigator worth their salt, they're not going to assume anything without a crime scene and a timeline. You can't, because many different things can happen. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, but all investigations, you know, they can start on one person that leads them to another person that leads them to another person. It doesn't necessarily mean the first one had anything to do with it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, there have been a lot of cases where they've suspected someone and then turns out wasn't like they thought. Wow. That came out of left field, you know?
Yeah, all the pieces are in the puzzle, but they don't necessarily go together.
Right. And okay, so let's talk about a person's speech, for example. I know a lot of people that have been convicted of felonies or have spent time in prison. They speak differently than those who are out in the world normal, never having been to prison. There is often a mistrust there. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why that is. You know, it could be anything from narcissism to crooked cops. You know, there are a lot of reasons why people don't trust the police or why people want to lay blame to the police. But the fact of the matter is that someone who has a criminal past is not going to answer questions in the same way as someone who doesn't.
Right.
First of all,
it's not necessarily meaning they got nothing to hide. It's just from their past.
Yeah, I've never been charged with a felony, and however, I have been taken to court, and I know how very easy a prosecutor can go like this and change your words to mean something that you didn't mean at all. And so again, I want to caution.
I had that happen one time with the media.
Yeah.
You know, we was working on a case, and I'm not going to throw out there what media, what channel it was, but they flipped the script on me and
Yes.
automatically said, you know, that we had said we was involved in a case that we had nothing to do with. We knew of the case and we was involved as far as the thing, but we were not involved in that particular case when he was found, and they lied.
Right. Exactly.
And they printed it. And so, yeah, they flipped the script quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing too, how many times do we see things that aren't accurate come out in the media in regard to cases? I mean, they'll get little thing, even a little thing might end up being a big thing. It needs to be accurate. And often that isn't the case. But if you've ever sat on the other side of the bench as a defendant or as someone, for example, I went to this court hearing with this woman because her dog and my dog got into it. Okay. Now, my dog, he was on a leash. He was actually on a gentle leader, and he was on the way back in the house. So we're both nurses, you know, and this other woman routinely, she let her dogs run in the neighborhood. Well, her dogs tried to attack me. My dog was in the front door, and he turned around and came back and defended me. And he chewed him up pretty good. She tried to say he was a pit bull breed. There may have been some pit bull in him, but you know, I adopted him as a hound mix. And so anyway, needless to say, the judge sided in my favor, but you know, because of his coloring and his markings and everything, she tried to flip it around like it was something that I'd done wrong. Look, my dog's on a leash, you know, your dogs are roaming the neighborhood free and tried to attack me. And so what I'm saying is that people that are involved in the criminal justice system, a lot of times they become paranoid, and instead of saying what they should just come out and say, a lot of times they'll search for answers because that's what they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid of their past, and a lot of times they don't want to put their past out to the public. So, you know, there's also the demographics where a person lives, how they were raised. You know, for example, African Americans may speak Ebonics. Somebody from, you know, West Virginia may speak, you know, pure hillbilly. I mean, you know, being from the hills, I can do both. But hill, city, you know, it just depends on how you grow up and what your background is. So you have to be very careful when looking at a person's speech. Is there anything else you can think that you want to discuss about that? I feel like you have to be very careful with, at a specific time of extreme stress, and analyzing every little thing a person says. What was your experience like when, I hate to ask you this, but when you lost your daughter and she went missing, I mean, where was your mindset at the time?
All over the place.
No.
I mean, you can't to explain it. It'd be like being at an amusement park on roller coasters, and I don't know. My mind was scrambled.
Scrambled.
Yeah, like scrambled eggs, I guess you'd say. Yeah, sometimes I was fine. Not fine. I'm not going to say I was ever fine, but as in the mindset. Sometimes I was pretty sharp by, you know, like right now. You mentioned that, and all of a sudden I'm like scrambling for whatever I'm going to say because I don't even know. I mean, I was lost.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that I can't imagine family members that's gone through this or going through it at the time. And for them to say, oh, well, they should be speaking perfectly fine. Oh, everything should be good. See, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm rambling.
It's just curious to me. A lot of people are, analyzing every little word that they say. And in the moment, for someone, for example, who has a criminal history, what I'm saying is they may answer something differently than someone who doesn't.
Well, I'll just put out, I'm going to go ahead and just, the thought came to my mind when, first time when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was 4:02. I woke up and I was just anxiety, like completely, I knew something was wrong.
Panic stricken.
And Jodi just kept coming to my mind. She just kept on, just like Jodi, Jodi, Jodi. And I got my phone and I'm calling and calling and calling and calling. And the longer went, the more panic I got. And finally at like 10 o'clock in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. Of course, I didn't even try. I'm bawling, I'm crying, I'm calling my kids and the other kids, and I'm telling them something's wrong. Well, of course, with them, they're like, Mom, calm down. You always just panic, just calm down. Everything's okay. And I said, no, something's wrong. And I knew it. I knew it in my heart. I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to go to that saying, when you know, you know. And my mind scrambling. And I went and I started, where was the last place she was at? I'm starting to call on the phone and all of that. I can remember that like it was
yesterday.
Today. Yeah. Yeah. Stuck in that time warp. But then as the days went by, for every day that went by, it was just like, oh my gosh, it was like it started turning into like years, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And so of course then, I was reliving it over and over and over for about 3 years. I could almost recall every conversation I had, whoever I talked to, what they told me, what this one told me happened, blah, blah, blah. And then of course, now I've forgotten a lot of that stuff, but the main points stick out.
You reminded me of something very recently that we talked about, and that is, you knew.
Yeah.
Now, I've dealt with a lot of mothers that have had a child missing and murdered. And something in them, they talk about this, they discuss it, but it's something in them that feels ripped away, torn away from you. Did you experience that?
Yeah, it was literally a pain in my chest. It was literally like, you know how you cry and cry and cry and cry and then you hurt? That's what it was like. But it was so intensified. We had a visual for Jodi 10 days in, and we had made this beautiful cross and put her picture on it and all of that. And someone said, why did you make a cross? And I heard them talking, actually. They didn't say it to me, but I heard them talking. And they said, why would she make a cross? Like she knows that she's dead. And I don't like that word dead, but that's what they said. And I just turned around and I said, because a mom knows.
Right. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, a mom knows.
But it almost made it look like I knew something that, and as we talked and I said, even with the detective, I told him some stuff that he would have probably said, holy crap, how does she know this stuff unless she was there? I described like the area of what I was seeing in my head.
Okay, so let's just get this out there, okay? You and I both worked before. I hate the term psychic, but you and I both worked on cases for law enforcement, visualizing what happened. And that's something very interesting that a lot of people aren't aware of. We don't do it for money. We don't do it for the public. is for law enforcement or for families, and we don't charge for it. Now, that said, we don't work our case. We'd never get any sleep. And I've never worked a case in that way for law enforcement or whomever, unless I was asked to. So in putting that out there, which I don't know if I should, I hate the term psychic because that's not what it is. It's not divination. It's not psychic. It's not anti-Christian. So, but in putting that out there, sometimes you just know. In a lot of cases, you just know. And so I'm not going to stay on that topic for long right now. But I find it very interesting that a lot of people are pointing fingers like they know, but they don't know.
Well, the first question I asked the detective when he told, and it's just weird because, you know, here I am, I don't even want to say grief stricken, because at that moment, I don't even know what I was. But anyway, I asked him, was she face down like I saw? And he said, yes. And so that right away, I'm thinking, my gosh, I mean, you know, just like,
Right.
but I was like fixated on that. And then right away, I'm just going to go right into like 7 days later, they took me to the site where she was at. And I kept on saying, this isn't what I saw.
Right.
This is not what I saw. This is dark dirt. This is not what I saw. I saw orange clay. It was like an orangish clay. And we all set out. There was like 10 of us, and we all go out into the where she was found at out there. And it was family and friends. And all of a sudden, my brother-in-law, that's what we was looking for. And we get out there, and my brother-in-law's like, Belinda, and he starts yelling, and we all come running. And lo and behold, well, actually, he said, he had said, Jodi, help me. Where is this place that your mom's looking for? And he saw the limb, like it was really hot, but he saw the limb shake, and he went over there, and there it was the big area, just like I had envisioned. And he went around, and I went around. I said, don't step on any of the stuff. We went around, and there was her belt laying there. And then 10 feet later, there was, you know, her sunglasses. And then there was her.
And the police had completely missed it.
Yeah, cigarette lighter and all of the stuff. And her shoes and everything was all there. And I called the detective because he had took us to the scene, but then he left, and I called him back, and he's like, what? I said, yeah, we just found all of her stuff. And he said, you're kidding me. And I'm like, no. He said, where are you at? And I said, we're right at the edge of the wood line. And so here he came back and got the bag and took all of her stuff that we had found. And it was all because of the vision that I had.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, you know, especially with mothers or someone who is extremely close to a child. And they'll see it in their mind. We talked about dreams we had, people that I've lost, cases that we've worked on. And this doesn't come as a shock to me. I've seen it a lot, especially with grieving parents, you know, where it's almost like somebody will come to them and they'll see it in their dreams, or they'll envision it in their minds, and turns out this is the way it was.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times she said to me while we was out there searching, Mom, go home. And I know I would hear her just as plain as day, Mom, go home. No, I am not going home.
Yeah.
She didn't want me finding her.
So for, you know, Don Wells to say, well, I knew this was going to happen. I always had this feeling. I mean, everyone has premonitions in their life. Everyone has premonitions. Everyone has bad feelings.
Yes.
Sometimes, like, okay, for example, I had a car accident back in 2015, and something in me was telling me brace for impact. And it wasn't, you know, a couple of seconds later, and the back of my car is flying down the highway, you know, and almost flipped me. But, you know, some people believe in guardian angels, which I personally do. I don't know if anybody else does. But I also believe in life after death. And I believe that, you know, sometimes you get premonitions for a reason. that's someone from the other side telling you, hey, pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
or hey, this is coming. It's kind of a warning, or someone looking out for you. Anyway, I don't put much weight in that. Now let's talk about sleeping in the same bed with the kids. You ever slept with your kids, Belinda?
Yep.
I know my daughter and my son-in-law, before he passed, God rest his soul, from the time the kids were babies until they got bigger. Now they had their own bedroom, and they had their own bed, always with mom and dad, always. God, they'd come over here and spend the night, and they would want to sleep with Grammy or Pow, and they'd be, oh my God. How many times have you been woken up? You get to the foot in the nose and, elbow. It's like, God, go to sleep. So I went out and I bought a set of bunk beds, and I sleep on the futon, and my granddaughter sleeps on the top, and my grandson, he sleeps wherever he wants in the house, but anyway, the point is, for years and years and years, those kids slept with their parents. My grandkids still sleep with their mom. They're very tight, especially after losing their dad. But I don't find that suspicious. Now, it becomes more suspicious if there is, in fact, child molestation in Don Will's background, But again, what has he done for the past 40 years? Has he been convicted in a court of law for child molestation? Not that I'm aware of.
I haven't seen that.
Not aware of it. Until somebody's convicted, you can't really say if they're guilty or not. I mean, that's the standard of law. That is the blindness of justice. The scales are like this. What is the evidence of that? Is it a he said, she said, her word against mine? Don't know, because it's never been in front of a court. So there's that. I believe in innocent till proven guilty in a court of law, unless my brain tells me something else.
Right. Yeah, we can't argue with that.
Yeah, and I'm not wrong very often. I'm not. Just leave it at that. If God's putting it in there, then I believe it. Anyway, so now we get down to the red truck. So everybody's still blaming the parents, blaming the parents, blaming the parents. We don't know if the parents had anything to do with this or not. We don't know if mom passed out. We don't know if there was drug selling. We don't know. The public, they know nothing except that this child is missing. This is what the parents say. But guess what? TBI is still putting out that 1998 to 2000 red Toyota Tacoma. Now, why do you think that is? I mean, in Delphi case, they said, oh, you need to see if you remember this truck at, the CPS or CPS building or the Family Services building on the Hoosier Heartland Highway. So, do you remember this vehicle being parked there? When Jessica Haringa went missing, they're looking for this minivan, There's a reason why TBI and the FBI will put that out there. And it's because either somebody saw it that is a witness, or they got it on film. So you have to wonder, is this a person?
Yeah, we know it's for a reason. We just don't know.
My question is, if this is just a person of interest, why haven't they come forward? We're not talking about just a red Toyota Tacoma, which there are, 100,000 probably in the United States. We're not talking about just a red Toyota Tacoma. We're talking about a red Toyota Tacoma that was in Rogersville that had ladder racks in the back and white buckets. There's a specific reason why they put that out there. But guess what? This person hasn't come forward. So is that our person of interest? You have to ask yourself, is this our suspect? Because it certainly hasn't been ruled out. And according to Sheriff Lawson, nobody's been eliminated. So if nobody's been eliminated and this person in this red Toyota Tacoma isn't coming forward, you got to wonder why. I'm sure in Tennessee, this case has been all over the news.
Yeah, it's been nationwide.
Yeah. So if you were there, why wouldn't you come forward and say, hey, that was me, and what do you need to know?
Mhm.
Here's another thought I have. Okay, so Summer went missing sometime between 3:40 by the time she got home, and as far as we know, until the time the police got there or dad got there. There's some discrepancy of whether he got there first or the police got there first. I don't know. Maybe he messed it up in his brain. Who knows? But she went missing in that 2 or 3 hour time frame. So, approximately 3 hour time frame. There were tree workers out there all week, and they were out there that day. Did they hear anything? Did they see a red truck?
Yeah, I don't think they told who actually turned in the truck.
Right. They've never said. And so the public doesn't know. But the fact remains that they're still looking for this truck.
Right.
Could be somebody that was always on the property and then poof, they're gone. You don't know. And so again, I just want to caution people to don't jump the gun. This poor little girl's still missing, and just because she's missing, I get it. There's, that 3 hour window is a very scary thing, because generally, if it is a sexual predator within the first 3 hours, they're generally gone. But that doesn't always mean that's the case. I mean, J.C. Dugard came back after 18 years. Elizabeth Smart came back. There have been children that are recovered within a very short time frame. Look at the guy, what was his name? Gina DeJesus and
Yeah, I was just gonna say the three of them.
the three of them, yeah.
Yeah,
And
12 years.
yeah, he ended up committing suicide. They were kept for 10, 12 years, So you cannot rule out that someone can come back. You also can't rule out a woman. Now, a lot of people are on this thing about Dawn making the statement that she put her in her truck. Now, I'm just going to say this. There are a lot of women who are involved in trafficking. And I'm not going to say any more on that. So just keep in mind that this is an open investigation, and all the public knows is that Summer went missing. There's a very large time frame, because we don't know what happened in that time frame. And TBI and the FBI are looking for that red truck, red Toyota Tacoma, 1998 to 2000, they said, with ladder racks and white buckets in the back, that was traveling through Rogersville. Anything else you want to talk about, Belinda?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, so, Summer, we're praying to God, please take care of this little girl. Let her be happy and healthy. Oh, you mentioned that they said that Summer was possibly autistic, and that she was somewhat nonverbal, or was nonverbal until recently. If that's true, if she is autistic, there's a possibility that she could have been wandering off down the road somewhere and just kept walking and walking. I mean, you'd think somebody would have seen her, but that also puts other possibilities into play. So
That area was pretty secluded. I mean,
it was. What if somebody hit her and she went off the side of the road? When Caitlin Markham was taken and murdered, she was, 20 miles from her house, 10 miles from her house, and she was actually a mile down the road from the road we'd searched on the same, so the parallel road from the road we'd searched as the crow flies. So, I mean, I just think people need to keep an open mind until you have the facts. I mean, My
Yeah, until
question,
more information comes out.
till more information comes out, I mean, you don't know the crime scene. You know what police are looking for. They're scouring over the family with a fine tooth comb. The boys have sadly been taken out of the house, but I mean, in looking at the property, I'm assuming it was necessary.
Yeah, but if this family is innocent,
But
then
what if everybody's
we're
wrong?
going through hell.
Everybody's accusing this family and they're wrong.
Right.
I'm not saying that they didn't absolutely have anything to do with this. What I'm saying
We
is
don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. And at this point, I think it's irresponsible for people to assume so many things when they don't know.
Yeah, they're jumping the gun.
Yeah. Yes, I am smoking and I am drinking my Mountain Dew. And that will never change until I'm pushing up daisies. Cheers.
Cheers.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Belinda, about this, about the mindset, about what you went through at that time?
Oh my Lord, no. I don't
You
even.
mentioned it to me at one point that if the police had listened to some of the things that you said, that you would be in jail because
Oh yeah. I mean, be just the things that I had said.
you said things, you forget things, you twist, you get things mixed up in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would automatically be looking at you, even though you were home in bed all night and had nothing to do with it. But they would automatically be looking at you because of the things that you thought and felt and said.
Mhm.
And I hope you don't get upset with me for this, but you're another instance where, as far as I know, the husband goes to worst case scenario. It happens. It
yeah.
happens all the time. People, what is it you said? People are saying,
Oh,
"Get a lawyer."
he would throw me in a tailspin. Just things that was said, like, oh my God. How could
Because
you
men
even-
and women think differently.
Yeah, it's like, how could you even say that? How could you even think that?
But again,
Some scenarios.
even though he could think or say things, in your heart, you still knew, like, she was ripped away from you. You felt it.
Yeah, but he made a comment one time that, oh, she might be fish food.
Yeah. But men tend to, again, go to worst case scenario.
Mhm.
Whereas women, they're like, help me, help me, help me.
Yeah.
So, I wonder, has anybody even contacted the family to put out flyers? Are they passing out flyers? Are they doing all the necessity to see that their daughter comes home?
I think since they live so far away from the town, they probably wouldn't put them up and I don't know. They live so far out in the
I mean, but
mountains.
as far as investigations go, they want them in every town. Let's put them up here. Let's put them up there. Can somebody help me? Again, I'm not accusing anybody. Just a thought going through my brain, but are they out passing out flyers? I saw, Candace went to a vigil or two. I've seen them speak out to the media. Again, this is about the case of a missing child. And so you have to look at all avenues, even the parents. But without a crime scene and without knowing the timeline and what their cell phones and everything, I don't see how anybody at this point can accuse them.
I don't either.
And it all goes back to this, to ask
I couldn't accuse them. I could not accuse them and sleep well at night.
No,
knowing that,
no, because again, what if they're wrong?
mhm,
What if they're wrong? Not saying they are, but what if they're wrong? It's been known to happen. And I mean,
mm,
I couldn't accuse somebody and then be wrong, and then I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror. You know, how could you be so? I mean, this
well, you're adding on to already, I mean, they're going through pure hell here on earth. How do you even add on to that? Do you completely push them over the edge? I mean,
what if it was an accident at the house and they were just afraid of losing their boys?
and and again, that's a possibility.
Another possibility. You know, it is a
It's
possibility. It's a possibility it was an accidental death, and then there are many possibilities. The fact remains that the public doesn't know what happened.
right.
There are many possibilities. You can make a lot of inferences about the way people talk when a child goes missing, but until you've been through it, you may be wrong. So I'm just going to leave that right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know from parents that I've dealt with, their mind will go 1,000 different places to what happened to that child. And to me, that's not suspicious.
Well, I mean, I don't think me as a parent, I'm just using me. I went through every scenario, inside out. Every time someone told me something, they could tell me one little bit of information that was different from the other, and I was twisting and turning and pulling and, you know,
Trying to figure out
constant,
what happened.
constant. It's all day, every day.
Yeah.
As long as you were awake, you were thinking possibilities, This one
Right.
said that, and that one said this, and oh my God, she could be over here, she could be over there. I mean, constantly.
Yeah, and somebody's out here calling these people who are saying that they believe Don. They're calling them the Donettes. You know, again, I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. What I'm saying is that everybody's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Mhm.
I don't know what happened because I wasn't there. And that's for investigators, law enforcement on the case to figure out. Have we worked this case psychically? No.
No.
And again, I hate that word psychic, but in discussing it, there's a missing child, and I think it would behoove people to remember that if it's not the parents and you're treating them horribly.
Well, I'm kind of glad you said that. I'm not usually open to mention anything about psychics either. I have a real hard time with the word psychic.
So do
But
I.
I'm going to say a lot of people get it wrong when they're talking about psychics.
Right.
And that is just because they say, oh, well, why didn't that person know that they were going to die? Or why didn't they know that? It's stupid. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You get your information and I get mine. And I know as we talk all the time, I know where yours comes from because we're very vocal and very open with mine comes from Jesus Christ. Mine comes from
Me
the
as well.
Heavenly Father,
Me as
and
well.
he doesn't give us all the information. It's,
A lot of people are going to think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but we've discussed this many times. I've seen Christ, and I asked him specifically, can you tell me what I need to know? And sometimes it's like movies in my head,
mhm.
and I've actually sketched out perpetrators, drawn exactly what they look like, how the person was murdered, da 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 da. But when you don't know, you don't know. Everything is done in his time, not ours.
That's right.
And there are
Well,
a lot of people.
and you're right. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this for any mom that's out there. I lived through two verses I recited over and over and over. And I kept on saying, if I kept saying every day, Lord, you brought me to it, you'll bring me through it. And I just kept on over and over and over. I kept reciting that.
Yeah.
That morning.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. I prayed daily, just Lord, come on. I can't take another day. I was broke. I mean, I was shattered. I can't even say the words what I was. I was completely tore down.
Yeah.
That morning, believe it or not, I said, Lord, I know you think I'm strong. I can't take another day. I knew myself, my brain could not take another day. I would have winded up in, the mental institution. I was done.
Yeah.
I stick a fork in me, I'm done. I knew it. I knew I physically could not take another day. And I said, Lord, please bring her home.
Yeah.
And he knew I was done.
Yeah. And that's when they found her.
And she was found.
Yeah.
Within, I think it was like 45 minutes actually.
Yeah.
Because I got up.
Not to say anything for those who pray and don't get the answer that you did.
No, but what I'm saying is when you're at your breaking point, completely done, when you can't take another day, he knows it.
Yeah.
It goes without, he's there for you.
Yeah. It's interesting. You've said something to me quite often, and it's so true. And I wish we could impart our knowledge that our children are not ours. They belong to God. They're only on loan to us.
Right.
All souls belong to God. They're only on loan to us. And
that was another thing I did daily too, is I thanked him. I thanked him for every single day that I had with her, those 19 beautiful years.
And sadly, on cases such as Summer's case, you notice I don't have any advertising going on here. I'm not out to make money. We've never asked for money for a case. You've done search and rescue and recovery with your organization for 10 years now, almost 11 years. And we don't ask for pay. We're not, but it's sadly in a lot of missing cases, you'll have a lot of fake psychics that'll come out and say, I'm going to charge you. If you give me this amount of money, I'll find your child. It is the most horrible exploitation that you can even imagine. Somebody made up pants for somebody's missing child / children. I'm not going to say who, but then wanted to charge the parent. And this parent's not getting any profit out of this. And it's like, how can you be that way? These people are already going through the most horrific things that they've ever been through in their life, but it suddenly becomes a cash cow. And I think it's absolutely disgusting. And in Seeing Christ, one of the things that he told me was, you can't take money for this. That's blood money. Mm-hmm. And that was my bargain with him. Now, get a psychiatrist on here. I don't care. Science can't tell me nothing because I know what I've seen. And
that comes back to one of those, when you know.
Yeah, when you know. I've actually got proof of life after death, but yeah, that's another day. Anyway, so getting back to all of this, just, even if the parents may or may not be guilty, I'm going to caution anyone in jumping the gun here.
Have compassion.
I mean,
we find out something
one or none are involved? What if just one or none of them or neither are involved? You have to be, again.
I mean, no, and even if they are involved, my Lord, they're living in hell. I mean, it's
yeah.
They gotta live with that the rest of their life.
It's better to have a millstone around your neck and be cast into the sea than to harm one of these little ones. Mm-hmm. Amen. I can't stand pedophiles, chomos, whatever you want to call them. But again, I'm not their judge. Okay, murder, I'm not their judge. That's up to God. That's not up to me. I struggle with that kind of forgiveness. Belinda, you have much more grace than I have. So yeah, I think we can leave it there for tonight. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think I wanted to add as much as I did.
Well, I mean, no.
That's stuff that I very few people knows about.
I appreciate you sharing that, Belinda, because a lot of people, you know, they're
Not even family. There's family that's never really.
there are a lot of people in the world that are really good people that really care when people go missing. And then there are other people in the world who wouldn't give it a second glance, but for something to talk about.
Right.
You know, but when you're a mother that's got a child missing, you don't give a damn who it is, as long as they're looking for your child.
Oh yeah, no, I'm telling you, people was
And
just
that's what
wonderful.
makes it, that's what makes this such a even more horrific thing than it already is. You know, you already have this child that's missing who's been victimized. Then you have the family. Then you have generations down the road that may be affected like this. A lot of times parents end up divorced. A lot of times families split up. So when a child goes missing, it doesn't just affect the child, but it affects generations. Okay. And in taking that to consideration, you add social media to it where everybody's going boom, boom, boom. I think people are jumping the gun here.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I don't think it's fair to, especially if the parents are innocent. I'm not saying they are, I'm not saying they're not, but if they are, that'd be really horrible.
You asked me a couple weeks ago with my story if anybody ever like accused or said anything. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
I probably would have.
Well, you know, fortunately you didn't go through that, but imagine being innocent and being accused. Like,
no, I couldn't imagine.
Ramsey's parents.
I couldn't imagine. I could not, no. I couldn't imagine.
I mean, there's people that put their kids in pageants all around the country, you know, all the time. They like dressing their little girls up, especially moms and grandmas. You know, they like playing dress up with their kids, you know, liking them to look all cute. Now, I wouldn't say putting all that makeup and everything on them is necessarily my choice, because no, it wouldn't be. Making them look like little adults or whatever. That, yeah, no. But that said, imagine if child goes missing, your child goes missing, and then boom, all of a sudden everybody's accusing you when you had nothing to do with it. Then that takes focus away from what actually happened, and I think that's tragic. Then you add all the people that come in the background to exploit the situation. I think people just need to just stop accusing and wait for the facts. Facts still haven't come out. So, all right, hun. About time we put this one up for tonight. But anyway, Father in heaven, please protect Summer and, you know, her family, her brothers, mom, dad, her loved ones, and please bring justice swiftly. In your name we pray.
In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, honey. Good night, folks out there, to all y'all that are listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.